Hey guys, I'd like to just discuss with you for a few minutes the issue of evidence and our use of it. I'd like to take just this few minutes to talk about the importance of evidence in constructing our belief system or our faith system, or what some people call your personal theology. To go back to Bible, in the book of Exodus chapter 3, when Moses is having an encounter with God at what we call the burning bush experience, God tells him to go and deliver his people from Egypt. And so Moses asks this question of God. He says, look, I'm going back into a very polytheistic situation where there are not one or two or three, but literally hundreds of gods being worshiped in Egypt. So when I speak to your people, who should I tell them sent me? And God says to Moses, he said, here's what I want you to tell them. I want you to tell them that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob has sent you to them to bring deliverance to them. Well, in context, what does that mean? It means he's sending a signal through Moses that he is going to treat the current generation the same way he has treated their forefathers. He hasn't changed at all. His promises, his covenant have not changed at all. And he has the same amount of power and compassion to be able to accomplish this incredible act of deliverance. He's saying, if you're wondering whether or not you can trust me to do what I'm telling you I'm going to do, just look at my track record. In other words, check out the evidence. Look at my resume. It's all a matter of public record. When you get to the New Testament, it's no different. You wouldn't expect it to be, especially if you've watched many of these videos. He is the same. And so when Jesus is about to ascend into heaven and complete his earthly ministry, the writer of the book of Acts says in Acts chapter 1, verse 3, that Jesus had presented himself alive to his followers with many convincing proofs. Could be translated with many convincing pieces of evidence. Now, when you get to Moses and the giving of the Torah or the law at Mount Sinai, there are two places where Moses, specifically speaking for God, tells his people, Deuteronomy 17 and again in Deuteronomy 19, it's on the evidence of the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses that every matter is supposed to be confirmed. It's not a matter of personal opinion or who has the most money and can bribe the right judge. On the evidence of 2 or 3 eyewitnesses and their testimony, every matter is supposed to be confirmed. So adjudication is supposed to happen according to the evidence, according to eyewitness testimony. Now, when you get to the New Testament, again, it's no different. In Matthew 18 and in John chapter 8, Jesus talks about on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses, that everything is supposed to be confirmed. And when you get to Paul in 2 Corinthians 13 or in 1 Timothy chapter 5, Paul is applying this same principle to the way that the church is supposed to function in the time of the New Testament, on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. So again, it's not a matter of personal opinion. It's a matter of what can be proven, what has been eyewitnessed by multiple people. You know, that's really important in our world, because today it seems like feelings dominate. Personal opinion is the order of the day. It's what Hollywood says, or what the political leader says at the time, or what the experts are telling us. That seems to be the way that truth is supposed to be determined. None of that has anything to do necessarily with evidence. You see, truth and reality are more important than that. And truth and reality are more reliable than that. You know, the shifting winds of public opinion or whatever. Truth and reality are more important than that. Let me just give you a couple of examples to think about. 2 plus 2 still equals 4 in our world. Doesn't matter what the postmodernists say, 2 plus 2 is still 4. When you drop something, it still falls down. It never falls up or sideways. The sun, it still comes up in the east and it goes down in the west. In other words, there's a reality to our world that is observable, that's a part of the experiential record. You know, we've seen it happen, and we can expect the same things to happen yet again. Truth, according to scientists, according to the scientific method, is still knowable. Evidence in our world is still used to determine guilt or innocence in a court of law. So when we study together here at Bible Unplugged, you may have noticed that I always cite my sources. I always cite my sources. They're always on the screen. You've got Bible passages, you've got other stuff, pictures of archaeological excavations and that kind of thing. You have evidence to show you that what I am basing my conclusions, my interpretations, my applications of Scripture are based on. I guess you probably noticed if you watch much TV or listen to Christian radio, not all Bible preachers and teachers do that. But I can tell you this, that's the way that we're always going to roll here. We always have and we always will. It's the way that you minimize the personal opinion piece, my personal preferences, and it's the shortest distance between where we are and finding truth. Those of you who study with us, you deserve to have in front of you, before your very eyes, the same evidence that I have so that you can evaluate my conclusions based on the evidence. Not on how I feel, not on how you feel, not on what popular opinion says, but based on the evidence. Now, I can't speak for other people, but anybody else that treats you like you're a child and that you're unable to handle the raw evidence, and you can't handle careful treatment of that evidence, I would suggest hasn't earned your trust. Anybody that treats you or the evidence any other way deserves to be ignored. I'm giving you my personal opinion on that, so take it or leave it. I'm just going to suggest to you that anyone that attempts to lead you with bluster or with rhetoric or with personal charisma, with their position, influence you or impress you with their title, or just simply makes authoritative pronouncements, you have the right to ignore those people, and they should rightly be ignored. So whatever you hear, whether it's from me or some other speaker, just feel free to say, as in the Jerry Maguire movie, show me the money. Or in that old commercial with the Wendy's drive-through and the old lady driving up, and she looks at her hamburger and she says, "Where's the beef?" Feel free to do that. You have that right. I would argue you have that, biblically, you have that responsibility. So let me encourage you with this. Go where the evidence leads, because the evidence is going to eventually lead you to the truth, and the truth will set you free. God bless, guys.